In this video, we're going to consider how plants respond to infectious pathogens. Now, plants usually live in areas where there are all the perfect conditions for microbes to grow. So lots of bacteria and fungi like to live in damp, warm places, just like plants do. But plants don't always get infected. So there are things that plants already have that prevent them getting infected. And these include things like a waxy cuticle that prevents entry into plant tissues, little hairs that mean that any parasites living on their outsides don't really want to be there because it's kind of awkward. Bark on trees is a strong physical barrier. The holes underneath the leaves, which would normally be an easy entry point, they can actually close when pathogens are being sensed, or if they walk on the leaf and disturb the leaf, they can close. And cellulose cell walls prevent pathogens that have got inside the leaf through a stoma that might be open from actually getting into the cell. There are also some plants that accumulate toxic chemicals in their tissues, like in eucalypts, for example. You've got all that eucalyptus oil along with many other chemicals, and that's actually not very palatable to most pathogens. But in addition to that, if something were to get past those barriers, plants can respond in 3 different ways. The first thing is just a basic response, a basal response. And essentially what the plant does is fortify or strengthen the plant tissue. So you can see on the right here that you've got lots of red sticky gum leaking out of the bark of a tree. It's like a resin. You can touch it and sometimes it's really sticky, but it's really thick. But essentially what it's doing is sealing any holes that might have occurred either through damage from an animal, which then allows entry by the pathogens, or maybe the wind has damaged it, or someone's walked past it and broken off a piece of bark. But the plant will seal up that hole to prevent any pathogens getting in. You can also get lignification of cell walls or stems, and that just means a thickening of the cell wall in addition to the normal cell wall. And you can see that one here where you've got little galls, Galls, galls appearing on the stem of something that's been attacked by insects. But also they can add extra chemicals to the leaves, and acacias, which are like bottlebrush trees, they can do that, and they can actually introduce almost like a cyanide-like material, which is actually really poisonous. So you can add extra toxins to leaves. It's probably why koalas spend so much time asleep. If the basal responses don't do enough and the pathogens get past those, the plant can do something called a hypersensitivity response. So this usually involves apoptosis, which is a great word. It means programmed cell death. And little small areas of the plant can actually be isolated, shut off, and die, and contain within it the pathogen so that it doesn't spread to the rest of the plant. This could be a small piece of a leaf. It could be a whole leaf. It could actually shed the whole leaf, or maybe a whole fruit or a branch, so that the pathogen that's inside that part of the plant is lost as well. But the last thing, which is really quite cool, and it's kind of a way that plants can communicate within their plant, is called systemic acquired resistance. And if you look at this diagram, you can see what's happening. And the leaf on the left has been exposed to a pathogen, and in response to that, a chemical will travel through the phloem of the plant, so all the vascular tissue, spreading to other areas of the plant, and the uninfected areas of the plant, like this nice green leaf here, they actually fortify themselves. So they'll do a basal response or a hypersensitivity response. Maybe they'll load up the leaf with extra toxic chemicals so that should the pathogen spread to the other side of the plant, that leaf is already prepared and is less likely to be attacked, which is really cool. It's a bit like the chemical is acting like a hormone. Now, it's not really a hormone because a hormone definition requires other things, but it is traveling. It's a plant hormone or a plant growth regulator. And one example is salicylic acid. So those are 3 ways that plants can respond if they get attacked by a pathogen. So a basic response, a hypersensitivity response, and a systemic acquired resistance response.